Good morning, Year 6. Welcome to today's English lesson. We're going to start with today's word of the day, which is harumph. Okay, it means to clear the throat noisily. Okay, it is a verb, it's a doing word, and therefore we can put different endings on it to change whether it's in the past, in the future, or if it's happening now. So those words are harumph and harumphing, or they he harumphs. Okay, so your sentence might be he harumphed and said, "Oh, very well then," or something like that. It's where you clear your throat. Please, can you write a sentence using this word? Okay, today we are going to look at speech because we are going to write the second paragraph in our character description, of which you are not showing me. It is a surprise, please. And we are going to be concentrating on that. The rubric is the same today, focusing on elements of the toolkit, sentence structures, and if at all possible, picking words and phrases to create this overall intent that I can understand that this is a good person or this is a bad person. But first, we're going to start by recapping the stuff that we have done before about speech. Can you remember the 5 rules of speech? What I'd like you to do is pause the video to show me that you do know. And can you punctuate these sentences correctly? Have a go. You can do it on a Word document, you can write it down, or if you have the PowerPoint and you can amend it, you can amend the PowerPoint. But have a go just to test yourself. Okie dokie, let's see how you got on. So first of all, you boy, what are you doing here? Don't forget, speech marks need to be opened, and then you need to put your punctuation inside that speech before you close those speech marks. What are you doing here is a question. You must have a question mark. And at the end of the sentence, boom, Mr. Bumble, you need a full stop. The boy replied in a whisper. So this one, the reporting clause is at the beginning. So therefore, within our speech marks, we can put a full stop. We need to put a comma, then we open our speech marks, capital letter, and then full stop those speech marks. Okay, again, opening those speech marks, punctuation within the speech marks. He's shouting, so I've put in an exclamation mark. You could use a comma, but you must not use a full stop. The full stop would go at the end of the sentence if you were using a full stop for stealing. Okay, the beadle roared. Now this is a complicated one, and I've sort of thrown it in there. The reporting clause is actually in the middle, and therefore you use a comma, but you still use a capital letter each time you start writing again, please. Don't forget, speech marks are like a speech bubble. They always go around the speech. Again, the reporting clause is at the end. The boy began to tremble. Actually, it doesn't tell us how he said it, but it tells us what he did. The sentence isn't finished, so no needs to have a comma, not a full stop. Remember, you cannot have 2 full stops in one sentence. It cannot be done. Automatically means they're 2 sentences, so be careful. How did you get on? Okay, maybe some that you didn't get, maybe some that you did. Take a close look. You may need to refer back to this because it's really important today that you are using speech precisely. It's a year 6 target that you need to hit, please, if you can. Okay, so let's just remind ourselves. All speech marks should be surrounded by inverted commas or speech marks. We call them speech marks. The government calls them inverted commas. They're the little things that are in the air. Use a capital letter after you open your speech marks. Punctuation always goes inside the inverted commas, unless it's a full stop and you haven't finished your sentence. I won't say it. Use a new line for every new speaker. If you're continuing, like I did on the previous slide, where someone says something and then you put a reporting clause in the middle, you don't need to then start a new sentence because the same person's still speaking. Okay, a whistle stop. tour through speech there then. So look at your plan again. You should have already come up with some ideas. Use them. Don't bin them off. If you decide, oh, well, actually, they're not good enough and actually I've got a better idea, then that's fine. But do look. Don't have done all this hard work and then bin it. Now, today you need to think of a scene because you can't just have speech. Before, yesterday, you're looking at physical description, so it was easier to do that without thinking about where your character actually was. But today, to be able to add in our second paragraph to have speech, we're going to have to think about where they are. So I've come up with a couple of ideas that you can use if you're desperate, or if you aren't, then you can make up your own, but some ideas. Also down here it tells you I'm going to be writing a conversation with Bumble, and you can watch that at the end of the video if you want, but you absolutely don't have to. If you're confident, then start writing, but if you want some ideas or some way to get you started, then by all means watch the end of the video. I will let you know when you go. Okay, so these are my ideas for a few scenes. So you need to think about who's having the conversation, what's going on. So it could be any of these ideas. Artful Dodger and a policeman could be having a conversation. It could be between Fagin and Bill. As in, you could be writing as either character. So if you've chosen to describe Bill, then there's no reason he can't have a conversation with Fagin. You could be Fagin and a policeman. It could be Bill and a policeman. Nancy and one of the boys. Bill talking to Bullseye, maybe he'd be a bit more honest to his beloved dog. I don't know. Bill and Nancy, or Dodger and Oliver. These are ideas. Think of your own. I'm happy for you to come up with something different. But again, if you're struggling, these are some ideas for jumping off. Okay, so think about this. If you're going to go off and start writing in a minute on your own, this is the last thing I'm going to show you. So refer back to the rubric. If you're working at a yellow level, which I hope like most of you, if not all of you, are working at that level or above, you're going to be using 2 or more elements from the toolkit. Now, if you go back to this, if you look on your plan, in yellow, I have written... Okay, sorry about that. Right, so if you look on the plan, you can see that there is a yellow. That shows you what you need to be doing to use yellow. So just using those inverted commas and getting your capital letters in the right place will get you at a yellow relational, multi, sorry, on the rubric. If you are working at the green, you need to get that punctuation inside, and you need to be using exciting synonyms for said, not just said. Okay, so you're using a variety. I've put purple, new line for the speaker. Really, it's kind of green, but it is definitely a high level skill if you can remember to do it. Okay, right. So we now need to. You can go if you are confident. If you would like some extra help, I will show you my writing about Mr. Bumble. Right, so here he is, Mr. Bumble. So here's my writing from last week. It's yesterday even. I'm all discombobulated, year 6, right. My scene is going to be the one in the picture. So here we go. Who am I? Mr. Bumble, over his barrel chest. Right, so I'm going to start with my speech. He's going to talk to Oliver. He's taking Oliver somewhere. I think he's going to be taking him. He's going to be taking him to see if he can get anybody to sell him. Now, I want to bring across the fact that Mr. Bumble is not a likable character. So I need to use words that get that across in my description. So I'm going to start with my speech. So opening my speech marks, always the first thing that you do. Right, come along, boy. I put the voice on. He's shouting that. Now, how does he speak? Now, he's quite sort of fat and barrel-chested, I've said. So he's a booming type guy. So boomed Mr. Bumble. Now, how would he say it? So I'm going to use an adverb. How would he say that? Irritatedly. Is that actually a word? Angrily. Let's go angrily. And then I'm going to open speech marks here because Mr. Bumble is still speaking. Okay, this is not Oliver, this is still Mr. Bumble. So it can go on the same line. If it was Oliver, new line, but it's not. I haven't got. Oh. Full stop, because it's the end of the sentence. In fact, I probably need to change that. Right. Oliver. Yes, sir. Sorry, sir. How could Oliver speak? Whispered? Babbled? No. Replied. We'll just go with replied. Oliver. Meek. So meekly means, oh, I'm so, in a weak kind of way. The beadle. I can't even spell it. Harumphed. 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 Yanked hard. Boys. Who does the arm belong to? No boy. Apostrophe S. Almost. Spelling. Filed over. Okay, what can he say? You should be grateful. After all I have done for you. Others would beg to be as lucky as you. Needs to be a full stop, I think. Here we go. Others would beg to be as lucky as you. Okay, now I don't have to always use a reporting clause because to here it's kind of obvious that it's not Oliver who's saying it, is it? It is Mr. Bumble. So I don't always have to use that reporting clause. Come on, boy, said Mr. Bumble angrily. I haven't got all day, no. Yes, sir. Sorry, sir, replied Oliver meekly. The beadle harumphed. He's yanked. That doesn't make sense, does it, teen? That's why it's always important to read it back. He yanked hard on the boy's arm, almost pulling the slight child over. You should be grateful, you little log. After all I've done you. And then I'm just going to keep this here. Mr. Bumble pressed at together in a smug. Then I'm going to keep him talking. Well, now it's time for you to pay back my the beadle took a deep breath. No E, otherwise it's breathe. Boy for sale. How can I make it sound like he's being really noisy? He hollered. That's another one. Shouted. He hollered. Only £5. Oliver's pale blue eyes opened wide. The man paid him. His mind was already on the profit. Okay, the profit is the money that he's going to get. Okay, so a little bit, you get a bit of the idea of what the Beagle is like because of the language that I've tried to use, hopefully. Okay, so you should get an idea of what he's like. And the fact that he's quite smug and self-satisfied, that's the sort of thing I want you to get across. So when you're writing about Fagin, he's kind of oily and a bit greasy, and he uses the term my love and my dear all the time. So make sure you get that in if you're using Fagin. Bill often talks about death and, oh, you're going to swing and I'm going to take you down. So you might want to try to get that in if you're using Bill. Nancy is ever the peacemaker. Oh, no, calm down, Bill. You know, she's almost using a similar language to Fagin, but in a less greasy kind of way. And Dodger is all right, my old China. You know, he's very cheeky and chappy, and maybe words like chirruped and sang and things like that might be good synonyms for you to use to really get across the idea that Dodger's a really positive character. Okay, so thank you for bearing with me. It's been a bit of a crazy lesson today. I would like you to have a go at just writing the speech part of your character description. I don't want to see it. Remember, I only want to see the finished article. And tomorrow we will be looking at writing the scene and how they move and really concentrating on that. So good luck. Have a great rest of the day. And I shall see you tomorrow for the last English lesson of the week.